Hey, good morning. Good morning. You know, last night was pretty quiet. Yesterday was pretty busy, and I know as I was in the emergency center and the chief was out on the field, we both noticed that we saw some of you out there. So you know how busy it was, and so chief is going to report out as to what happened yesterday, and what we can anticipate for today in terms of what is scheduled, I guess, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, Chief.
Thanks, Mayor. Good morning. As the Mayor stated last night, relatively quiet, although yesterday afternoon were a few incidents that kind of sparked up, mainly on Public Square. One incident in particular with a gentleman that kind of came out of the square with a little mini bullhorn and shouting whatever he was shouting, and our officers not really intervening, letting him do his thing. And then he was, I guess, some counter protesters were kind of trying to shout him down, and he actually was trying to go over to them to get closer to do the shouting. A little shoving match, we broke it up, sent him out. At that time, we actually had two groups who were actually coming into the square, which brought more people. When this little incident happened with the gentleman, I don't even know his name, there were probably more media people there than actual protesters, and he kind of pushed his way through a lot of media people, and then they almost got together, and I separated them, and that was that. And then we had these two other big groups come in, they set up, and that's when we kind of brought officers in to kind of quadrant it off, separate people that were counter-demonstrating against each other. We chased a little group around that were running through the streets like hooligans from Public Square all the way to East 12th Street, running on private property, through parking garages, trying to get into businesses, things like that, kind of courting them off here at 9th and Lakeside, and kind of gave them an ultimatum to get out of the streets. They eventually complied, got on the sidewalks, and dispersed. And that was basically the end of quite a busy early afternoon. After that, a few little incidents here and there with open carry, which we handled, and just general protest activity, spontaneous small marches and demonstrations, things like that. Other than that, that was it yesterday. Like I said, after we got done with the Public Square thing and the thing here at 9th, I went back and got in my riding clothes and got on the bike with our bike officers, and we went out for about 3 hours, and it was relatively quiet downtown. That's it. Any questions? Yes.
Yes, Chief, can you compare this to any of the reports that you heard from Tampa in 2012, how the reaction and the police security and that sort of thing?
I'm not going to do any comparisons. You know, we've, of course, talked to Tampa and Charlotte and Minneapolis, Boston, New York, you name it, Denver. We've talked to them all before we got into this. And we try not to do comparisons, but, you know, for us in the city of Cleveland right now, the last 3 days have been pretty even. Not too much going on, and when things have sparked up, our officers, our law enforcement partners were there to take care of it.
Chief, going into this, you talked about how important your bicycle patrols would be. They would be a key component to this. Is
Yes.
yesterday kind of the way that you guys drew it up, and are you taking any notes kind of out of what happened yesterday?
Oh, we're definitely taking notes. I mean, after each deployment of the bicycle unit officers, we kind of look at it, we make adjustments. Yesterday was the same thing. You know, we brought them into the square. They did a great job of sectioning things off and quieting people down. We did a couple extra things with the bicycle unit that we haven't done in the past, and they worked out pretty well for us. Yes.
Were there no additional arrests?
No arrests yesterday, no.
The hooligans were the guys in the bandanas. The hooligans you referred to were the guys in the bandanas?
Yes. Hold on, in the back there.
You talked about the bike patrols and doing different things yesterday. Could you give some details on how you adjusted for the bigger demonstration and the event?
Well, not detail, but I mean, most of you guys were there. You actually filmed it. I mean, we're not going to go into detail to the actual tactics that were used, but we use our bikes tactically to make sure we separate people, isolate people if they're an issue, so that we can help de-escalate that and calm it down before it gets to an arrest situation. Yes.
Chief, I was there at Public Square. It looked like you got a little roughed up, and
Roughed up?
saying, it was a little scary, to be honest with you. I was concerned. I hope you're okay. Jen Schoch came on the late night presser and said that you're a very hands-on, captain. And can you talk a little bit about if you're still going to do that after yesterday, and then what kind of benefit you think it is for this in this situation?
Well, if I'm out there and something's happening, I don't just stand by. I'm still a police officer, although the mayor likes to tell me a lot, Chief, you're a little more than that nowadays. But if something happens, I mean, that came directly to me. I mean, you were close by. I got up on the steps there so I can get a better view of what was going on in the crowd. And then here comes this gentleman, and he's doing his speech, and he's walking. There were a couple people kind of walking with him, and basically pushed through you guys and came directly at me because I stood next to a couple counter-protesters just to kind of keep them calm. And he came directly really at them. And then they tried to kind of grab each other, and they pushed the whole crowd, and I pushed them back, and then I grabbed him, and then they took him out of the crowd. So, I mean, I'm still a police officer, so, I'm out there to make sure nothing happens and to, help direct our troops with our other commanders that are on the ground. But
Being so close, to these groups, do you think it calms them down? Do you think is that your goal to?
I think it does. I mean, that's been our posture from the beginning. We don't stand back and let people heat it up. Our officers are right there. They're standing next to people. They're talking to people. They're confronting people when they're getting out of hand, telling them to calm down a little. If it gets to a level, then we bring officers in to separate and give people, a chance to kind of relax and take a breath and decompress. We try to make sure we interact and engage people as much as possible when we're out there so we don't have incidents that happen.
And if I can add, field command is essential. I sit in the emergency operations center, so I see it all. I sit in the emergency operations center, so I see it all. And I see the chief, his deputy chiefs, and commanders out there. Instantaneous decision-making is very important because things happen just that fast. So field command is essential for this to work. It's working so far.
Yes.
Chief, I'm sorry I'm a little confused about the difference between the security zones and the event zone, and what is allowed in the event zone. So, for example, can people wear a mask inside the event zone? And
Yes.
About things like tennis ball, you can have a tennis ball, or you can have a tennis ball in the event zone.
I'm not going to read you the entire list, but there is a resolution that was passed by the Border Control back in May, and it has an entire list of prohibited items for the event zone. Things like fireworks and rockets, sound amplification equipment, drones and other unmanned aircraft, containers of bodily fluids, aerosol cans, mace, pepper spray, umbrellas, projectiles, launchers, guns, water cannons, rope chain. I mean, the list goes on. Things that people would use to hurt someone. We restrict that from the event zone.
So we have heard that some of the anarchists had bags of urine or something like that were allowed to keep them. That
No.
was prohibited. So they were not allowed to keep them.
They weren't. Any prohibited item is confiscated.
Just to be clear, so you can't have a toy gun, but why can you have a real gun? Those people.
Because a real gun is protected by state law and the Constitution. Yes, sir.
Chief, you said that you dealt with, or your officers dealt with some open carry issues last night. Could you elaborate?
Well, again, our posture is to approach them and make sure they understand their responsibilities. And then we basically, watch their movements and their activities to make sure that people understand that the city is safe and downtown is safe. You may have seen some of our tactical officers deployed where there were people with long gun rifles. We deployed tactical officers with long guns nearby so that the general public can see that and they know that they're being covered, that things are safe in that area. Yes, sir.
In terms of just the number of protesters, seems like it's maybe been smaller than people were expecting going in. Does that fit with your expectations that there's fewer protesters?
Again, from the beginning, we had no estimates or no expectation on the number of protesters. Whoever shows up, and we're prepared to deal with them. Yes, sir.
You mentioned just now that sound amplification devices are not allowed in the gun zone.
That's correct.
I mean, I just probably saw 12 people with bullhorns yesterday. Why are those? Why are you not taking those people?
It's the electronic sound amplification devices. There was a person with a bullhorn that was probably like an industrial size, huge. That's not allowed in the event zone. Or something that you plug up to a huge speaker to talk with, those aren't allowed. There are a couple people that had a little thing going on the corner of the square. They really weren't disturbing people. It wasn't an issue. We kind of let that go. But we had these guys, I think there were 3 of them, and they had these huge bullhorns that were powered by something, and it was just deafening. So we had to make sure we got them out of there and told them they could not do that without a permit.
Just one more follow-up. What planned events or marches or demonstrations are you looking at today that you're going to be?
Yeah, Dan is going to get you the list. You know, we're looking at the things that are planned and the things that just pop up. Our guys are out there around the event zone and further, and, you know, if things pop up, then we respond to them.
Question for the mayor. How much has business been able to, go on, the rest of us who work and live in Cleveland? How has that been over the last couple of days?
It's been inconvenient for some people, or most people, but people found a way around it. Some people leave earlier from work. Some people come in later to work or come in earlier. Some people work from home. It's all those different things.
Have you seen a noticeable difference in foot traffic that we would see?
Not really. No, not really. The further away you get from the central business district is more normal. But when you get into the central business district, the difference is the vehicle traffic is less because people have found a way to get to work, to and from work, or do whatever they do without cars. So you don't see as much vehicle traffic. But in terms of pedestrian traffic and people riding bikes, things like that, they're still moving around.
And what kind of feedback have you gotten from folks in for this convention here that are from out of town thus far?
Well, they're enjoying themselves so far. They're enjoying themselves. Somebody over here.
Chief, I got a question for you. Yesterday, for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, a group of maybe a dozen, a little bit more than that, protesters kind of took police on kind of a wild goose chase around the city. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about the resources that are going into dealing with about a dozen protesters, and if it's worthwhile at the end of the day to follow them around, or why not just let them sort of do their thing?
Well, we have different tactics to deal with different, entities out there. This particular group, from what we've seen and what we've confiscated from people that kind of identify with them, is their aim is, disruption, property destruction, to hurt people and things like that. So we're going to make sure we have all the resources to bear to make sure that doesn't happen.
Do you think in any way that it's overkill to have so many resources out for these protesters who one of them, when I spoke to him, said that his goal is to give the police a workout?
Well, I think they got more of a workout than we did. They were on foot. Our guys were on bikes.
And then kind of follow on with the questions over there. I know you said that you didn't have any preset expectations for who was going to show up or how you're going to deal with it. But yesterday we asked about maybe getting a final tally of the groups that RSVP'd to protest and the ones who didn't show up, or by your estimation didn't show up. I wonder if you've had a chance to get that, and if you can just comment on whether...
No, I haven't personally, but Dan can take a look at that with our people that track that and get you guys that number.
Okay, we requested yesterday at the meeting and then sent an email and...
But the point is, if you have done that and we have not responded, I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Our policy is that if there's a request and is made properly, we respond. So what you're going to do today, we're going to respond, okay?
So there's no final sort of tally?
Well, we have day-to-day. Day-to-day, now it's hard to, some of the events, like one person showed up at a scheduled march, you know, or two people showed up, you know, we can give you that, but there may be some events where we don't have the actual number, but again, that's something that they'll deal with.
Ken, could we get that tally from you, just so?
You talk to your counterpart, with us. If they fail to give you information as best they can, then you let us know, and we'll make sure you get it. I'm telling them now to give you the information you're asking for. Okay?
Yeah.
Clarify, you said a group from Public Square to East 12th running around like hooligans, those were protesters?
I don't know if they were actually protesters. I mean, protesters, you know, kind of voice their opinion on things, you know, they march, they demonstrate, you know, this is what we're trying to get out there. This group just ran through the streets with, I don't know what they were out there for.
Chief, we've seen a number of different times where you guys have used the bicycles effectively to break up contentious groups. Can you just talk to the effectiveness of the bikes and kind of keeping things calmer than maybe people expected this week? And also, were these specific models you guys bought from somewhere? We've heard they cost something like $2,000 each.
Yeah, I mean, it's a specific police mountain bike that we purchased, and as you can see, they are effective in not only getting to locations, but being effective in, you know, separating out people, groups, making sure that there's a physical barrier between groups, and making sure that, you know, people are safe.
And just a quick follow-up to that, I've noticed some of the more contentious scenes I've been at, you've been at personally, you know, that one we were talking about with the kids running around, so you give the kid directions home to a bus, you can kind of out there personally confusing it. Is that something you normally do? Is that something specific to this? Like, or why are you coming out into these kind of like crazier situations?
If there's an issue around the city that's going on, I plan to be there. Yes, sir.
There are reports that the Westboro folks are going to stage another protest demonstration, whatever. Do you know anything about that, and are there any plans?
No, I mean, they may, but I mean, they were out there yesterday, they were on the stage, they did what they had to do, and they left.
There was also a question about, or somebody saying that there's going to be a flag burning somewhere. Have you heard anything about that?
No.
Chief,
Yes.
Donald Trump's got an event today with Mike Pence around 2 o'clock in the city. Can you talk at all about maybe increased security around that event?
It's a Secret Service event, and we'll support the Secret Service in whatever they need for that event. Yes, sir.
Chief, can you remind us how many officers are outside the downtown area that you have on shift? Do you have a number?
No, I can't give you an exact number, but our car plans are filled around the city, yes.
Has there been any response time issues with anything? Or
Not that I've been made aware of, no.
have you seen an uptick or any kind of extra activities? Have you noticed?
Around the city? No. Event zone? No, just business as usual. Yes, dear.
Obviously, there's been much anticipation coming up to this week. What have been your overall feelings on how things have gone thus far?
I think things have gone so far so good. I've said that for the last 2 days, going in today. You know, we can't predict what's going to happen today and tomorrow, but so far so good. Our officers have responded when we needed to. We've given people space to do what they need to do in a peaceful manner, in line with the Constitution, and that's what we'll continue to do. All right? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, could you talk a little bit about how you feel regarding the security and police response and how that maybe has changed outsiders' perceptions of Cleveland?
Well, for those who are not from here, they look at it as being unusual. It's just what we do. So this is what we do. We've had the occasion to have to handle demonstrations and protests in the past. So this approach is not new to us. This is an approach we've been taking all the time. So, you know, people look at it, they come, and they say, well, it's new. For us, it's not new. Okay? But we do learn, as the chief says, we do learn from every experience. So we adjust what we do as we learn things, and then even though things they seem similar, they're not sometimes. So you have to be very fluid. That's why to the question about the chief and his command staff being out on the ground, that's why that's so important, because it is a very fluid situation, and they respond to things that way, and many times they're proactive about it and they prevent things. But you have to be there to see it and to feel it in order to be able to make those kind of decisions. So it's just normal, is what we do. Anybody else? Thank you. Thank you very much.